Hey, what's up, everybody? Chris Franco here, CMQ Investing. I want to share with you some insights on Alibaba. So, in case you're unaware, let's take a look at how our favorite stock in the world is doing today. As you can tell right here, it wasn't exactly doing great, and then it just went poof. So we're down to about 61 bucks. It's terrible. So just in the last month, Baba is down 23%. 6 months, about 30%. Year to date, almost 50%. Now, I was asked a question because this price is so, I would say, depressed. I talked about this briefly on Twitter. I said I was really happy that I had the courage to publicly trim my Alibaba position because I would not be able to stomach this current drop otherwise. If you're wondering about that, I've recorded a bunch of videos about Alibaba as well as podcasts, so you can check those out. On this note, though, I was asked a good follow-up question that I think could be, something worth talking about here. So Lee asked me, would you buy at this level if you had never gotten in previously? So goes without saying, I'm not a financial advisor. I don't give financial advice, but I can answer this question honestly, and I can tell you what I would tell myself, knowing what I know now. I don't think that if you're going to buy this stock, right, consider that if you're not really a long-term investor, if you're really not about that long-term life, don't buy it. Because this is something that if you don't have the stomach to hold on to it for a long time, and I often say, and this is not a perfect time, but I say, I'm not looking at it till 2030, then this is something you'll probably lose money in. Similarly, consider this. There are much better, more enjoyable ways to make money than holding Alibaba. One thing that I underestimated about this stock is just the China factor. I will give credit to my interest in Alibaba stock led me to learn a lot more about China. Like I became much more well-versed in, I started reading, I read a lot of Lee Kuan Yew's book or his autobiography and a bunch of other sources as well. I won't bore you with all those details, but it was in a good way, an educational experience. But what I've learned is I underestimated the just kind of volatility of investing in something that's based in China. I think those who have gone through this before know what I'm talking about. But I would just consider that in terms of all the ways that you could make money. Not only is this going to, how much of a sure thing is this, but is it going to be enjoyable? Are you going to be miserable because you're watching this thing, go up and down in a level of, with a certain volatility that it just makes you uncomfortable. And if it does make you uncomfortable, that's totally normal because it's ridiculous. There is going to be probably a lot more volatility moving forward as long as there is, any sort of geopolitical tensions with the U.S., as long as there's, economic concerns related to COVID and other things like that. There's also, frankly, a lack of visibility that investors based in the U.S. have into things going on in China. It's a little bit different than owning a company that is based in the U.S. and goes through sort of like the U.S. requirements in terms of how we can audit them and things like that. Now that could change moving forward, but I think just generally speaking, this is something that you could buy, but it's going to be an unenjoyable ride. This is not something where you should expect to be rewarded for your courage early on, and in fact, you could hit points where you start to feel like you're a complete moron for getting in this thing not because you could have made more money somewhere else, but just because it causes a deterioration to your quality of life. I'm being a little bit facetious there, but there is definitely some truth to what I'm saying. So I hope this is helpful. I hope this just gives you an honest take. I don't hear a lot of people saying this, but something to consider before you make any decision. So for CMQ Investing, my name is Chris Franco. Thanks for subscribing to the YouTube channel. Thanks for following the podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and everywhere else you get your podcasts. So CMQ Investing, we'll talk to you soon. Later.